Welcome to another Saturday night and taking it to the nub. I'm your host, Boston Jimmie. This is my co-host, Quinton Brown. Quinton, this has been a long time coming. Tonight, we have the Boutique Cigar Association.
The BCA.
BCA. Last week, we had the
PCA.
So we are dealing with alphabet soup of cigars here. But as you know, last week we had a great show with Josh from the PCA. Today, we don't just have one, we have a whole crew from the BCA. These are the guys that founded it. These are the guys that are running it. And we're going to get deep into what they're all about. So I guess without further ado, I guess we bring them in, right?
Hey, let me throw something up for you real quick, Jimmie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. 70-13. Are you kidding me? That's what they needed to do. Let me bring these guys in. In comes Gaby, David, Alan, Armin. Wow. Look at this crowd.
What the heck just happened? I got something on my screen.
Hey guys, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Dr. Kafie.
Dr. Kafie, how are you, sir?
Quinton, my pleasure. Doing good, man. Call me Gaby, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I will. From now on, it's Gaby.
Look at this good-looking crowd. Alan, David,
Oh,
You started drinking early this weekend, huh?
All I got to say is right there, I know it was a warm-up game, but they did the business they had to do. 70-13, that's impressive because later in the year, if they win a bunch of games, this plays into their potentials of where they're going. So go you. Before I get into the show, though, I want to do one thing. I have to do a public service announcement tonight because this is important for those that are watching. What you're seeing on the screen is a beautiful piece of artwork that my brother Leaf here in Melbourne, Florida, Lou Piscatelli, put together. This piece of art is all done with cigar bands. All right. And what's impressive about it is actually Jesse Flores's painting that he resketched. And he shows this woman that's kind of blended in with the tobacco plant, the giving hands, the volcanoes. But the reason we did this, and I donated much of the bands that are using this. There's some pretty old bands that are used in this piece of art. This is 18 by 18 inches. And what we did is we are raffling this off on Tuesday at 7:30 at night. And right now we've been selling these tickets for $20 a ticket to raffle this off. All the proceeds are going to get sent to Jesse Flores to help him out with his daughter and his daughter's illness and help out a brother. So anybody who's watching, if you want to get in on this, please let either myself or Lou Piscatelli know. I'll put in, Lou usually joins the show, but I'll put in his link in the chat in a little while. You contact us, he'll explain how to get a ticket or more. And we're going to do a random drawing on Tuesday at 7:30. So pretty cool piece of art, huh?
Very
very nice.
Right. It's absolutely, he does great work. I mean, he does this as a hobby, but it's, so he's donated a lot of his time for this and we're hopefully going to raise some money because that's what we do as a community. We help people.
Amen. So, amen. You know, I got to tell you something about a lot of the cigar bands on there. A lot of people don't realize that gold powder is used in printing some cigar bands.
Yeah.
Powders, and you can't do that process in the U.S. For some reason, it's illegal in the U.S. to print using gold powder. I would love to hear the reasoning behind that from one of the cigar band printers if they'll ever get into that, you know?
We could find that answer out for you, maybe.
Yeah, very cool.
We do know it's an EPA regulation of some sort, but that's all I know.
Are people snorting gold powder? I don't know.
That's
No,
next.
we have gold leaf on cigars. I mean, we've had whole gold covered cigars.
That is right.
So why can't you have a little gold on your leaf?
I don't know what you guys
Bizarre.
are talking about. I snorted some gold powder last night and it was amazing.
Oh,
Right on.
shit.
No hangover, no side effects.
Can you
Nope.
mute?
It's only under certain lighting, bro. It wasn't really gold.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a tough group to hold a conversation. So I'm gonna try to moderate this without putting anybody on mute. So we're gonna go around the board. I'll call it out. You guys, quick introduce yourselves. We're gonna start with Gaby Kafie.
Hey guys, my name's Gaby Kafie. In 2013, I started a cigar company called Kafie 1901 Cigars out of Honduras. A few years later, we added a coffee extension. We offer 6 different types of coffees. Fast forward to 2021, we ended up closing our factory in Honduras, moved all production to the Dominican Republic, and are now producing cigars there. In between all that, we managed to start the Boutique Cigar Association back in 2016, which was really a lobby group to represent small manufacturers that really didn't have a voice. Our industry has a fantastic voice for the large manufacturers, but a lot of the small mom and pop cigar brand owners out there don't really have proper representation, and that's what the BCA did. Bring together 58 different companies, united voice, and we work alongside CRA and PCA to try to get the job done. We've had great success. We'll get into that later. But these gentlemen here tonight are on the board of the Boutique Cigar Association. That's why we're all present here tonight. Thank you guys for all being here.
We'll go right to David Blanco.
Yes, pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having us, Jimmie, and thanks for the introduction. David Blanco of Blanco Cigars. We started our company in 1998 in the current iteration. My family has been in the cigar business and tobacco industry since 1886. I am the 5th generation in the industry. My family's heritage, of course, from Cuba. However, I was the first one born here in the United States. My father, my uncle Francisco, and myself were the 3 partners that started this iteration in 1998. My uncle since retired. My father has since retired 2-3 years ago. I'm now the president of the company. We sell our cigars around the world in every continent except Antarctica. I can't get the penguins to smoke yet. Our production is made in our cousin's factory. The Plasencias are cousins of Blanco. And so I've been working in that factory now since 2000. We closed our own factory in 2000. We opened that one in 98 and moved everything to the Plasencia factory at that point. So I make not only all of my brands there, which are 6 brands at the moment, but probably a dozen other brands as far as blending and manufacturing, import, export, the entire gamut of the integrated company for people all around the world. We have private labels in Europe as well as the United States. We're working on some in Asia and other places like that.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm going to come back to a return guest, our Taylor.
What's up, Bones? Alan Rouleau from Boston, up here in the beautiful lake region of New Hampshire right now, Lake Winnipesaukee. I am in the luxury tailoring business. So I don't have a cigar company, but I make guys who smoke cigars. I make them look good.
Yes.
We make luxury smoking jackets, cigar shirts, and handmade leather cases and exotics and skins. And I'm working with the people on the board to grow the BCA and to upgrade the image of the boutique cigar smoker.
Thank you, Alan. And for those that may want to see the interview we did with Alan, it's on Taking It to the Nub on Stogie Press. You could just search for Alan's name and it'll pop up. And it's a great interview we had. We had a good time during that show.
Yeah, we did.
And lastly, let's bring in Armin. And Armin, I'm going to steal a little bit of your thunder, but you are now the executive director or whatever you call yourselves now for the BCA at this term.
Yes, sir. Very proud of that. For those getting to know me, I'm co-owner of DAV Cigars along with my partner Val, who better be listening in, and Boston Jimmie. He's in Boston this weekend, FYI. We started about 6 years ago. We collaborated with a small third generation factory with a master blender, our guy Dico. And for that duration of time, we've expanded not just domestically, but internationally as well, and always looking to, strive for better things. We have 7, 8 blends now, and we just released a 5th anniversary. It made its debut at the Smoke at the Creek festival that the BCA does annually in Martinsville, Indiana. And as you touched on it, one of the best things about being on the BCA board is to be working and learning and growing and elevating side by side with the board members you see here. It's a real blessing. It's easy to have a title. It's very difficult to actually live up to that title. And, everybody pulls their weight. Everybody gives it 110%. Completely selfless, volunteering precious time, taking time away from their own businesses to make our vision a reality. So it's been a real blessing, and I know where we are and where we're going. The BCA will continue to grow, and it's going to do great things within the industry and for the industry. So thanks for having us on, Jimmie.
Very nice. Thank you, Armin. We had a couple of late arrivals. Let me quick go to JJ.
Uh-oh.
Hey, y'all. It's good to see everybody. My name's JJ Jordan, here in West Virginia, Weston, West Virginia, co-owner of Mountain Smoke Premium Tobacco. We carry only boutique brand cigars, and very proud of that. And very proud to be a part of the BCA and be on the board and be with these fine folks.
You guys had a little football game last night, didn't you?
Yeah, weren't able to squeak that one out.
Okay, just
Get into football a while. We can do that.
Yeah,
I'm all for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, they were ahead for a while, but now as typical, they kind of blew it toward the end there.
I'm going to bring in Jamie here.
Hey guys, I'm Jamie DeVise, the other half of Mountain Smoke Premium Tobacco in West Virginia, though currently residing in Louisville, Kentucky. JJ said it all. Usually they let me speak first, and I just kind of like have verbal diarrhea, and then JJ just kind of like waves. So he said everything. I'm just going to wave.
Yeah, I usually get to sit here and wave and smile. I'm more of the face of the company rather than the voice.
That's great.
I'm not going to ask everybody what they're smoking, but I will tell you, Armin, I'm smoking that.
The 1918 series, 1918 Cameroon wrapper, Dominican, Nicaraguan filler, and binder.
Absolutely. I find that Cameroons, I like to have them age a little more for some reason.
1,000%.
It just takes a little of the bite off of it.
1,000%. Glad you're enjoying. Thank you, bro.
Hey, Jimmie, I'm not smoking a DAV, but I do want to send a shout out to a member of the BCA, Conscious Cigars, out of Tampa, Florida. So I definitely went in the humidor and pulled something out. So shout out to the guys down in Tampa.
All right. Fantastic. All right. So thank you for all the introductions. Anybody can answer this, so just put your hand up if you're going to answer it. Okay, we'll make it easy. That makes it a little easy to moderate. My first question is, Boutique Cigar Association, please define for everybody boutique cigar. Your definition as the organization.
That's a great question. What's ironic is that's a topic of conversation that has come up over and over again because there's two definitions, right? There's a philosophical definition of what boutique is, but we don't really dabble in that. But in 2016, when the FDA published their 498-page manual discussing the premium cigar industry and how it was going to regulate our industry, it defined a small cigar company as one that generated $5 million or less a year, or had 15 to 20 employees as part of its company here in the US. It was at that very moment, while I was reading those words, that I realized that the FDA has no idea what they're talking about when it comes to a small cigar company. And that's where the fire in my belly got lit about really establishing an organization at the time that would consolidate brands like mine, people producing under 1 million cigars a year, small family-owned, family-driven companies, and identify a segment which was being overlooked by federal regulators. So our definition of boutique cigar, in terms of the association, is 1 million cigars or less a year. We are not here to define the term boutique. We're here to define our segment within the premium cigar industry. And I'll tell you what, the Premium Cigar Association has found tremendous value in what we're doing. So has Cigar Rights of America, and they've called upon us to be present at many meetings where we're, meeting with regulatory agencies, because if we don't voice our concerns, nobody will do it for us. So, yeah, I know a lot of people want to have a debate about the term boutique. There's a philosophical definition, and then there's a reason why we use it. It's to define our segment.
Okay.
And we're putting that out clearly. We're not saying we're better, we're more focused, we're more hands-on. It's just we're defining who we are as 58 member companies. Because if the FDA doesn't look at us and say, okay, we're going to put these people out of business, it's really hard to capture the essence of what effects the regulations will have on our industry. So that was,
Good.
yeah.
So
Anybody else?
I only asked that mainly because we all have our definitions, but you guys own the word boutique right now when it comes to cigars based on your association. So that's a good answer. One of the things you touched on, and I'm actually going to point this to Armin as now the executive director of this. We had Josh on last week from PCA, and we talked briefly about how the PCA has now embraced the BCA for future trade shows to bring in and build out a pavilion for the boutique small brands so that they can make it more cost effective for them to be attending. Explain how that process came to be and how you breached that with the PCA. I don't hear your sound.
Sorry, there you go. It actually wasn't a difficult transition because I know he's trying to hop on in a few, but Dr. Garo of Garo Cigars, he's been going to the show 25 plus years. David with Blanco Cigars has been there multiple years. DAV has had presence there for a couple of years. So we kind of knew who the PCA members were, membership, the board, etc. And it's right around that time I also made that one fateful call to South Florida to a gentleman named Dr. Gaby Kafie, because it was a very big learning curve for me, especially getting into boutiques when I did with Val. So I also got to know the BCA and my involvement with the BCA and learning what the mission of the BCA was. Okay, I get it. So we're boutique and we're here to support boutiques. And then you kind of sort of have a vision of where you want to go. You want to be in the big leagues, right? And, you think of PCA. So, but quite honestly, it can be economically challenging if you're starting out. to be in the industry and make your way to that level. So the PCA certainly understands and appreciates companies like ours. And we, of course, respect them not only for the legacy they've left, for the amount of time they've been in existence, but what they bring to the trade show for everybody to showcase their amazing products, but also recognizing that, you know, we're all one industry, and there is certainly a very definitive place in this industry for boutiques. So that being said, I think it was a natural thing. We're a very small community. We also have the same concerns, the same worries, and eventually we have the same battles. So it's all about unity. It's all about inclusiveness. They grasp it. We certainly do. And I think with everything happening in the industry, with boutiques really making a mark, and how the cigar culture is changing, it was the perfect timing and the perfect union.
Thank you. Q, you had a question.
I did. So obviously, with you guys having an association like this, do you guys take steps to properly vet a up and coming cigar company that jumps in and says, hey, we want to be a part of the BCA? We're a small company like you guys. We got cigars we're selling. Is there ever a time for somebody who is attempting to become a member of the BCA where you guys say, don't think this is the right fit? Maybe it's not the right time for growth. Can you guys shed a little bit of light on that for me?
I'll speak a little bit if you guys will allow me. So that is it's a great question, because it's also a painful question to answer. The answer is yes. The idea behind vetting companies exists. However, we all understand that we all start somewhere. Year one of when I was in business, if I was being vetted, I probably wouldn't be allowed on to be a part of the BCA. But what we want to do is we want to establish a series of educational layers, basically hoops that people got to jump through to be a legit boutique cigar company. And what happens is that it's not that they have to win our credibility over. It's really more about winning the credibility of retailers. Because if the term boutique becomes very common in our industry among retailers, it's common for us, right? We're the boutique cigar makers, right? We think we're all special. But the truth is that when we walk into a retail store, especially the larger, more competitive stores, we're at a huge disadvantage. Because we don't really have the muscle or the professionalism that the big, 2, 3, 4 generation companies have. So we're trying to create and we're doing this right now, Quinton, by the way. It's going to be part of our new website, which is launching in about 4 to 6 weeks. There's going to be a process of different things that we would like to verify to make sure that you're running your business the right way and you're 100% in compliance with all state and federal laws. So vetting, we're not doing it presently, but we are kind of overseeing what people are doing and advising them if they have any questions or concerns, or even offering guidance when it's not even asked for. We want everybody to be at the highest level. So damn good question, but it's really painful it's going to be a process. A quick process, we hope.
Okay. I'm going to take a quick shout out to the sponsor break. When we come back, we'll continue to dig into the BCA. And one of the things I want to talk about is obviously people like Alan and other small accessory companies and how they fit the mold. Okay.
Perfect.
So today's show is proudly brought to you by Rodriguez Cigars of Key West. 1947, the Rodriguez family began the masterful art of cultivating tobacco on a private plantation in the town of Suguane, Cuba. By 1952, La Finca Carmencita employed over 20 workers and grew over 120,000 pounds of tobacco annually. 8 years later, the Cuban government nationalized the private plantation, and the Rodriguez family was forced to immigrate to the United States. 1971, the family found a new beginning on a beautiful island of Key West, Florida, and in 1984 established the Rodriguez Cigar Factory. Founded in 1984, it stands as the oldest cigar manufacturer in the Florida Keys, preserving the historical cigar manufacturing industry that began in Key West in 1831. As the years pass, new generations of family members have expanded operations to Nicaragua, and they are proud to be working with some of the finest tobacco in the world. Rodriguez cigars are exclusively constructed with vintage leaves that have been hand-selected, aged, and constructed through the traditional Cuban manufacturing process. And if you get down to Key West, it's the only place I tell somebody to ever go is visit the Rodriguez Cigar Factory and take the $15 factory tour. At the end of it, you'll learn all about seed to palate, and you'll get to roll your own cigar from bunching to rolling to take away as a memento. Today's show is also brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar. This results in the timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love for cigars started with their grandfather, a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So the next time you're looking for an exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You can check them out at www.novacigar.com and on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. We're also brought to you by Bock Brothers Cigars. Bock Brothers Cigars is a new and active brand founded by two Honduran brothers, Bryant and Douglas Bock. The brand zeroes in on those folks that are looking for easy-to-smoke cigars inspired by unusual circumstances. Very importantly named after their very interesting and imitable last name, Bock. Bock right now is featuring their signature edition cigar produced at the A.J. Fernandez Cigar Factory. It comes in a 10-count box, and it has a blend of Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, a Nicaraguan Habano binder, and Nicaraguan fillers available in three popular Vitolas, Robusto, Toro, and Gordo. You'll note today, a little later today, we'll go through a review I just did on the signature. You can check them out at www.bockbrothers.com. And lastly, today our show is brought to you by our friends at Drew Estate.
Better than ever, with a party so big that only the Lone Star State can contain it. Music, spirits, mouth-watering barbecue, cigars galore, and so much more. It'll be the most epic shindig there ever was. Barn Smoker presents Savage Feast, October 22nd at the South Fork Ranch, Dallas, Texas. Get your tickets now at barnsmoker.com.
You only got one more barn smoker to go to, and that's the Kentucky Barn Smoker, and then comes the Savage Feast in October. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, please try to get them if you're going to go. And they've added one more thing. I mentioned it last week, but on September 20th, they're doing a tailgating party coupled to a Wu-Tang and Nas concert down in West Palm Beach, Florida on September 20th. So that should be fun if you're going to go do that.
I know we got a lot of Wu-Tang fans in the building on this call right now. So
that's it.
Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay, let's get back to BCA. So I was talking about before the break. So we have Alan, who is a very custom tailor. We had him on the show. Phenomenal stuff you produce. Besides what you do, what other or reach out do you have to small manufacturers that produce interesting accessories, cutters, lighters, and things like that?
We have been doing some research in the industry and talking with Gaby and the board from the beginning. We're moving in the direction where the Boutique Cigars to make it a lifestyle. And in doing so, to expose the availability to other smokers, things besides and in correlations with boutique cigars. So I have a line, I'm a master tailor. I was past president of the CTDA, the oldest continuous trade organization in the country. We're like the top 1% of what we do in tailoring, making interesting smoking jackets, anything from velvet to practically any fabric. And to be able to take and make custom linings off of cigar labels, taking cigar bands and company logos and implementing them in custom belt buckles, and just some very interesting things and that are unique to the industry and one of a kind. So it's a very cognizant factor. We want to make it synonymous with the BCA, and everybody's, you can get pretty much anything anywhere online. We're looking to do it more on a, if I can use a word or terminology, a small batch process. We do them like one off. I personally don't manufacture a line. We work with individuals creating specific items for them. We've been talking about maybe doing something on a larger scale at some point. I know I'm looking forward to joining the BCA with the PCA next year and creating a look. So besides just smoking a great premium cigar, to be able to identify people who enjoy a great cigar with a rather unique look as far as cigar clothing, shirts, jackets, etc. And I also teamed up with a gentleman named Howard Knight in Montana, who is a master leather craftsman, who has been hand making cigar cases and other lighter cases and things out of exotic skins, monogrammed personally for yourself. Each piece is made by hand, all made in the U.S., just like my clothing is. And to identify the level of work that the BCA members are putting together in their cigars to be reflective in how they actually look when they smoke them.
Thank you. Earlier in August, you had your second annual Smoke in the Creek. Unfortunately, I was unable to make it, conflicts of schedules, but from what I've seen and heard, it was bigger than the first one. And why don't one of you who haven't spoken yet that was there talk about the experience this year versus the first year, what lessons you might have learned from the first time and you've applied and made it better?
I think Jamie would be great at this question, and I'll talk
Sure.
about
Oh, yes.
problems after he talks about all the great stuff.
Yeah, because Gaby wants to be the one talking longer.
No.
No. The second year absolutely was bigger and better than the first. We knew that going into it when we sat down, good Lord, 13 months ago to start planning this year's festival. At that point, we knew that we had a lot of adjustments to make. Everything from crowd control to how we deal with the sale of cigars and everything in between, even the catering and music. Yeah. So we took a lot of comments from the people who were there and did our best to work to address concerns, to improve things that they were saying we did really well. I will say that the praise certainly outweighed the criticism both last year and this year, which we're grateful for because we can only take so much. But no, it was an amazing experience. From start to finish. And an amazing experience being behind the scenes as well. Sometimes the meetings get a little long, but But overall, just being with this group on the board, being with our festival committee, yeah, we've got a fantastic team, and next year I'm pretty certain is going to be even bigger and better.
Thank you. Q, question.
Do you guys fear of growing too big? Is there that fear that sits in the background, or do you guys just welcome the outward growth continuously?
You know what? Well, you guys are really asking the tough ones today. We have that conversation on a pretty regular basis because, yeah, on the one hand, it's natural that you want to see the fruits of your labor. You want to see it grow and you want to see it flourish. So, yeah, automatically in your psyche, that means more membership, more vendors, more attendees, and you want it to grow. But at the same time, we said, look, we can't allow ourselves to get carried away with just thinking along those terms, because the whole thing is to also make it intimate, where each vendor feels that they will truly maximize the opportunity, maximize the time, return profit, whatever it is, have more one-on-one time, whether it's retailers, whether it's distributors, to make sure that an attendee is not going to see the first 30, 40 tables or booths and then just skip out on the last 10. So there is that. It's a very fine line, and right now it's a juggling act, and we're trying to figure out where our soft spot lies.
I know David Blanco would also speak very well on this, because year one of the festival, and I'm going to refer to the festival, we proved that we can have a festival and that it could function and that it could pay for itself and everybody comes out winning. Year two, the festival kind of grew to 2.5 to 3 times the size of year one. So year two proved that we can grow this idea, this vision that we have. But now we're kind of stuck with the question of quality. We do want to, we've proven that we can do it. We've proven we can grow it. I think the next challenge is proving we can keep doing this and maintaining a very high quality experience for everybody, not just with the festival, but with the association itself. With PCA, and guys like David, Dr. Garo's not here, Hiram and Solomon, Armin, a lot of these guys have been to PCA already. And when we're talking about a PCA pavilion or a boutique pavilion at the PCA, right now we're tackling the question as to how many booths are we going to have within the pavilion. There's 58 companies that are members, but are they all going to be able to, even though we've brought the requirements down, the monetary requirements to be present, how many companies will be able to attend and offer quality? Because what we want the pavilion to be known as is a go-to place for retailers like Jimmie and JJ to be excited about going to the pavilion, get to meet all the boutiques. Like instead of hopping around the PCA show floor trying to find the boutiques, they're going to kind of be hovered in one area. And David, you're actually pretty close to where we're going to be, because David's always got his own booth at the show. But yeah, the question, Quinton, right now is quality. Yes, we want to grow, but quality is more important.
We're good. Now, I just note that Josh Habersky is watching the show, and he chimed in with a great group of people on this broadcast. Looking forward to the future. And I'll say it the best way I can. The best is yet to come.
That's true. Thank you, Joshua.
Now, with that question, I have a follow-up on that question. And whoever your analytics person is, if you take the cigar industry as a whole and you look at the pie, and you have this slice of pie which meets your definition for membership in the BCA, how big of a slice of pie is that if everybody that you define as that would be in there percentage wise, would you say?
Ooh.
You talking in terms of number of companies, number of cigars sold?
No, number of companies.
So
What percentage of the industry do you think that is?
I'm kind of the data nerd here in the group, and percentage is a very difficult question to answer. Like, look at the Bock brothers. I know those gentlemen. They're from Honduras. They're really close friends with my cousins. They're new to the industry. There's roughly about 300 companies out there that would define themselves as small producers under 1 million. Most of them have popped up in the last 3 years. Not, we're going back almost a decade with the people that are here or more. But what happens is, if we look at how the cigar industry works, is I use the wing of a let me get my bearings straight. The wing of a bird, right? If you look at the wing of a bird and you think of that wing as a factory, let's say, perfect example is AJ Fernandez, right? The Bock brothers are in there. And if you start looking at each feather on that wing represents a boutique cigar company being made at that factory. So boutique cigar companies are extremely relevant to our industry. If they were to disappear, and whatever the percentage may be, I know for a fact that the factories would actually feel the loss of all of these companies, because if you put our production capacity just on the few guys that are here today, I don't want to throw numbers out there, but we're, producing over probably 1.5 million, 2 million or more cigars just with the guys that are here today. Now, if you take 300 companies, whatever factory they may be working at, they represent work. They represent payroll. They represent the ability for that factory to cover the overhead. Percentage-wise, I don't know. I don't know what we would be. We've never really looked at the numbers. That's something that we still have yet to identify, I think. David, imagine identifying all the cigar companies and just getting a printout of how many cigars do you guys import each year. But then you've got brands like, there are brands that exist that don't even sell in the U.S. They're in Europe. They're in other parts of the world. We've gotten inquiries from brands that are outside the U.S. that want to join. But I know
Does that make sense to you? Is that acceptable based on your charter to go globally with BCA?
Absolutely. Gab, weren't we just talking about this going global?
It's happening as we speak. Yeah.
It's if I may, we were talking just a few moments ago about our collaboration with the PCA and to have a BCA pavilion next year at the expo. Well, right now, the BCA is also in talks, negotiations, however you want to call it, with Intertabac. And we're very excited about that as well, to be a part of this global phenomenon. And anybody that hasn't gone, I urge you, because Intertabac is just in a category of itself. It's just incredible. And to be embraced and to be a part of that, one, it reinforces and tells us that the BCA is really doing something right, and people are starting to get to know who we are, what we're about, what our mission is. It's a validity is what it is. So again, we're in negotiations now to have a BCA pavilion in Dortmund, Germany in September of 2023.
You brought up an interesting point. So that's good. So that is Dortmund. Now, what about some of the other large international cigar festivals like Pro Cigar? Okay, the Nicaraguan, Pura Sabor. Have you been in any talks with them to have some level of representation for these brands that are members to be there?
I think, David, you want to answer that?
Sure. I don't know if the appropriateness of this organization fits that mold, quite frankly, because the Boutique Cigar Association is a multitude of different companies from a multitude of different countries. Those specific festivals you speak of are identified specifically to one country or another. In addition to that, the Pro Cigar Fest or Puro Sabor, as you mentioned, have committees of their own. And those committees have members that are either factories and or farming organizations that make up those committees. So primarily the larger factories that run those areas of production are the key points of interest. Now, where it could somehow be involving boutique cigar companies wouldn't be through necessarily the BCA, the Boutique Cigar Association, is through the overarching factory, as Gaby just discussed with the Bock brothers with AJ Fernandez. So they might have some participation. Some of these smaller boutique brands have some participation as a result of their overarching factories that are going to be involved, obviously. So those would be conversations between those boutique companies themselves, their overarching factories that they work with, and those factories' participation in the committees that run these various festivals. So I think that's how that would work. Our organization is a little bit more outside of particular countries. So we're a little more global or international, as it were.
I don't know. Q went again. Q, there you are.
I'm trying to get my lighting right. You know, I got a good tan out here, so I'm trying to make sure that I don't disappear on y'all when it gets dark out night. You guys are just gonna start having an interview with teeth and two eyes. I don't need that.
No, don't say that. Oh man.
Anyway, you got a question?
So I hear a lot about the growth and the opportunity for you guys to grow outwardly, and I see that you guys are super excited about that. One of the things that I keyed on when you guys started talking about PCA and attending and having the BCA pavilion or the Boutique Cigar Pavilion. Would you guys ever fear that maybe the right companies weren't represented at PCA? Would you guys ever step in and say, hey, maybe we need to readjust some things here or there? Because obviously the name of the game when you go to PCA is orders and making sure that your number of retailers to companies are right, as you guys touched on. So would you guys ever fear that maybe the wrong companies were maybe in that pavilion? Would that ever be an issue?
Honestly, Quinton, I don't think so. I think based on the companies that we presently have in the BCA and the board working towards, like Gaby mentioned, a very holistic vetting process. Ultimately, as a private organization, where we have standards and benchmarks that companies have to meet in that process, and given the fact that these companies are relatively small, we get to know them better. And I think that if we ever had a concern like that, the board would be able to address it specifically with that company. But ultimately, I think that part of the reason why we are holding our hands very firmly on the rudder is because as a still relatively young organization, and an organization that is small and and has gotten some momentum from a festival and lots of publicity and all of that, we're approaching all of these opportunities, be it Intertabac, be it PCA, be it even just vetting new member companies. We're acting very judiciously and taking things very, I don't want to say slowly, but being very deliberate in each step of the process. so that we don't have a company who would fall through the cracks. And I mean, because that really defeats what we're all about. Ultimately, the BCA isn't so much about an industry as it is about a community where we all know each other, we respect each other, we're not in competition with each other, we're here to build each other up and to increase awareness of boutique cigar companies.
That's, if I may follow up,
Yeah,
because
sure.
we've had some inside dialogue with PCA, with Scott Pierce and some of their staff about having seminars prior to us attending the trade show to make sure companies are ready to basically make their presentations, their transactions, their goals seamless. Look, this was my first year at PCA, and I was a guest at the Miami Cigar Company booth. I wasn't there with any products or with any price sheets or anything. I was just there to get to understand the venue. It's overwhelming. It can be intimidating for a small company, especially mom and pop, where it's my wife and I. Like, David goes out there by himself with his staff, and it's crazy. I mean, he comes out there swinging, but he's been doing this for a while. But for a company that's never been out there, PCA is going to have a couple seminars with us to make sure we have our shit straight before we go out there and it's a circus show. I'm making fun of it, but I'm actually concerned. We want to make sure that people come in and it's festive, it's celebratory, it's meet and greet, but it's also business transactions, and make sure that we do things right. And if a person's visiting my booth, that person can bounce over to the next and just kind of work their way around the room, and within an hour and a half, basically be done with the entire pavilion. So we have to really think about each other and how to help each other be efficient and make it worthwhile, because at the end of the day, it's all about return on investment if we want to grow as businesses.
So Alan needs to bail out. So Alan, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Alan.
Take care.
Sorry, guys.
See you, Alan. No worries. Have a good weekend, brother.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Good to see everybody.
Take care, buddy.
I'll see you.
Dr. Kafie, that's exactly what I was getting at. I'm glad you used a little bit better term than what I would, that PhD is obviously showing. When you start talking about a return on investment, that's what I was getting at with the question, is to make sure that you have that right balance, to make sure that the right companies are represented for the companies that are going to be there to purchase, so that it matches volume with retailer, for a lack of better words.
Correct. One thing we want to do is have an area at the pavilion where every retailer actually comes in, and that retailer registers with all the brands at once. So if a brand missed out at interacting with that store, they can get them the next day, or even follow up by sending them an email and saying, hey, I was part of the pavilion. We'd like to do business with you. But it all comes down to data. And I know Boston Jimmie's an expert at this, but organizing data and organizing our segment of the industry is not only what we're doing, but it's something that has been missing for decades. Because the cigar industry, you've got the big companies that know their shit. They got it together. They've had it together for decades, right? But a lot of the new players, and certainly myself, it's a learning. Every day's learning. I've been at this for 10 years. I still don't know shit. And that makes me realize that I better pay attention if I want to do well.
So let me ask the opposite question of what Quinton asked. So what happens? So we've been around this. Some of us been around this world a long time. And I've been smoking cigars for over 40 plus years. I've seen companies come, I've seen companies go, but I've also seen companies, especially in the 90s, come and grow. All right. And they've grown big. Okay. I've seen companies grow big just over the last 6 years to levels that are probably beyond your definition. But at one point they met your definition. What happens to a company when it doesn't meet your definition to be a member?
Good luck.
We, we're going to have a graduation ceremony, and
Yeah, exactly.
we'll give them a diploma, wish them well, and then ask them to become an alumni.
There you go. That's
Fair enough.
But honestly, I mean, that is kind of the purpose of the BCA. We'd love it if we could get every company to that point. It's not going to happen realistically, but that, yeah, we'll give them a pat on the back and say congratulations. Be sure to send us your alumni donations.
But
There
I
you
want to
go.
say we have David Blanco here, and we can't. The fact is that David Blanco is probably walking on that line right now, and the beauty of it is that he unselfishly contributes his time, his efforts. He's at the meetings, he's planning, he's giving guidance, he's educating. He's doing things that he's really, there's no need for him to do all these things because he's helping people that, if Armin said, or who said nobody's competition, everybody's competition, but the fact that there's this brotherhood, sisterhood that has formed, there is tremendous value in this group. Like 2019, man, I was done. I was fed up. I was overworked. I was underpaid. Nobody gets paid, but with the BCA, and I was ready to quit. And what happened was that these pioneers stepped up, and these men have really taken hold of that fire and just carried the baton, man, to the next finish line. And I'm just sitting here watching this amazing group of men that have come together. And what's funny is, there's a lot of women in the industry. It would be great to have women be a part of the board and the festival committee. And things will be changing in the years to come, but my relationship I've had practically everybody here at my house for dinner or sleeping over or hanging out. And I think the beauty is being a part of an industry where you're building friendships where you can't put a price on it. And that's really where the value's at. And David, your unselfish contributions are appreciated, man. So thank you.
Thanks.
Very good.
But I have
Well,
to, I'm relatively, compared to a lot of the time you guys put in, I got to hand it to you guys. You guys are lifting the major portion of this load. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'll contribute as I can, but you guys are the stalwarts here. So thank you very much.
it's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Hey, hey, hold on, Jimmie. I'm sorry. I know you got to do your thing, but Dr. Kafie, the next time you guys have a sleepover and I don't get an invite, I mean, I personally take exception to that.
I think Gaby has a standard invite. He's always told me if I'm ever down in his neck of the woods, just give him a phone call and
Yes,
welcome him
man.
over. And if I have to,
And you know
crash
what
at
he
his
loves the
house,
most? If you don't even tell him, just show up and knock on his door. He loves that.
you know.
I will take that into account, Quinton. We should have, I think we should have a HERF down here. Everybody
Why
just,
not?
it's just a selfish HERF where it's just the board and friends, a group of 20, 25 of us spending the weekend here. I'll make sure to get rid of the wife and kids so they don't freak out when you guys burn the house down.
You can
Yeah,
call
and
it
make a lot of
BCA
peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
You can call it a BCA Palooza. Oh no, that's already.
Oh, that's
Listen,
At
in the
this
very
point,
near future, it's going to be winter up here in New York, so
That's right.
I have no problem going to HERF in South Florida. Please don't think it's a selfish act, Gaby. I welcome it.
I love
let
it.
me. I'm going to take another short break. I need to go through what's new in news and reviews on Stogie Press for the week. And when we come back, this is when we generally do a kind of a lightning round. It's going to be hard to do it with everybody, so maybe there's a different question for different people. Okay, just to kind of learn a little something about the individual as a person, as opposed to the cigar person. So this week on Stogie Press, I got through 4 reviews this week. The first one was PDR Cigars, the A Flores El Criolito Robusto. This came in at a 91. This cigar here is an $8.99 cigar in a 24 count box. It's got an Ecuadorian Criollo 98, Mexican San Andreas binder, and Dominican Criollo 98 and Mexican San Andreas fillers. Kind of a bold blend right there. Cigars, nice looking cigar. They come in a ridiculous amount of Vitolas. Okay. I smoked a Robusto, but these come in all these different Vitolas, a complete stash of them. Quite a bit of a veiny wrapper, but I never put points on or off based on what the wrapper looks like. It's all based on the performance of the cigar. I always tell people sometimes veins are flavor. Don't misinterpret that. Nicely packed. Very nice ash, decent ash cone, a little bit of a wavy burn on it. Overall, the cigar here, it did burn a little hot in final. That's where it lost most of its points. So overall, very nice. I really enjoyed the fact that it had this almond note that was deep with the dark chocolate and almond near the very end. So that really kind of inspired me with the cigar. The second one we looked at was the new CAO BX3 Robusto. BX3 stands for Brazilian times 3. There are 3 Brazilian. There's a Brazilian Matafina wrapper, a Brazilian Arapiraca binder, and a Brazilian Matafina filler, along with Honduras, Mexican, and Nicaragua. Yes, this is a bold cigar. Yes, this is a flavorful cigar. This is an $8.99 cigar, comes in a 20-count box, and it was giving me flavors of black pepper, caramel, cedar, cocoa, and dark chocolate, earth, spice, and sweet cracker notes were coming through. It has a kind of a look, a little bit like the Amazon basins that you might have seen from CAO. It's got kind of a bit of a toothiness on the wrapper. There's a nice little backstory there. Excellently packed and rolled. It does have a very dark ash. I'm not going to get into the details here. You can read my ratings on why I talk about ash, but for me, dark ashes, I take points off. We don't have to debate it on this call. You can read it. Why
Jimmie, what do you mean when you say a sweet cracker? Are we talking like graham cracker?
Yeah, like a little bit like a brand cracker. Yeah.
Okay.
Had a nice, decent thing. Had a bit of a wave, thick burn line. Overall, hour and 40 minutes smoke. That dark ash took it off. Dark ashes, to me, if you can get that combustion to go to burn that ash a little more, you might actually get more flavor, even more flavor out of the cigar. But overall, this cigar actually had this beautiful caramel sweetness that came in that I really liked, that mixed in with that dark chocolate. So that was kind of the highlights for me. The next one we looked at was from Martinez Cigars in New York City. So Martinez Cigars in New York City is the kind of the oldest factory in New York City. They roll their cigars in Manhattan. Okay. This is a great small company that I have been talking about since 2016 when I smoked their Flatiron, and nobody knew who they were. But they're now making their presence known at the trade shows, and I'm really happy about that. This one here is called the La Bodega series, the Ricky Taki. And I won't get into all the details, but if you know what a bodega is a local New York kind of, think of it as a 7-Eleven, but it's privately owned. Anything you want, you can get in a bodega 24/7. All right. They're in the neighborhood. They're owned by neighborhoods. The neighborhoods support them. And one of the things they have there, and I remember this when I lived in New York, is this thing called a Ricky Taki sandwich, which is amazing. Okay. Especially after a hard night of partying until 4 a.m. Instead of going to White Castle, you go to a bodega and get one of these Ricky Takis, and it just hits you perfectly. You know, your stomach feels much better. And you get it in the morning for breakfast. It's awesome. I talk a little bit about that in here, but this cigar had just an amazing profile of flavors with cedar and cherry and coffee and cream and fruit. I mean, it just there was a pear note both on the pre-light and came into the profile. That's something I don't always get, but it was a definite pear note. There were red pepper flakes in the beginning, savory spices. By the way, this is the Martinez factory. Right next door is a bodega. So if you go into New York and you see these things that say beer, wine, soda, newspapers, lotteries, gasoline, anything, they're everything. They sell everything. All right. Nice cigar, comes in this beautiful 5-pack wrapped in what's like a wax paper. This is what they do in New York when they get a sandwich. They put in this white kind of waxy paper. And this is what they did with it, slapped on their stickers and all these cool thank yous for smoking with us. Has Ricky Taki, one side Ricky, the other side Taki, and their logo on the front. Nice burn, beautiful burn through it. Had a little bit of a kind of got a little bit of an off burn, started running after it got through the midway section. This thing kind of lost its points by that wavy burn, that off burn. It did have a flat burn cone, and the ash was kind of flaky for me. It could have been a little more solid ash. I just don't like ashes falling all over me when I smoke. It's one of my pet peeves. That's why it's a negative point. And it was very complex and balanced. So it's something that I would definitely think a trained palate, a well-known palate will definitely appreciate this cigar. And the last one was, as we mentioned earlier in the show, was the Bock Brothers Signature Edition Sumatra Toro. This one came in the 92 Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, Nicaraguan Habano binder, and Nicaraguan filler, made at AJ Fernandez factory. Moderately complex with citrus, coffee, cream, natural sweetness, pepper, roasted nut was in there, and spice. Very nice looking cigar. Again, a little bit of veiny on it, but nicely rolled. Burn was decent. It did, the ash did drop a little more often than I would like, but it did hold a decent ash, about an inch at a time. Does get a little off burn in here, starts to do a little, not a run, but it did catch up eventually, but it does have a little bit of an off burn. Never needed to be touched up though. So that was what I really liked in this, was this pleasant roasted nuttiness that came across the profile. And of course, early on, once that pepper spice hit and a little bit of coffee undertones, then it got into this sweet cream that just kind of balanced that out, you know, like you eat that hot stuff and then you take a little milk, but that's kind of what it was. It really flavored up good. So those are the reviews. In the news, I'll just quick go through the news here without getting into all the articles. Fay Villa, for those that don't know Fay Villa, that was the old Mombacho. They've released something now called the Ladrillos. It's a new line of cigars. You can check that out. It's beautiful packaging, uses all the colorful tiles that they have down in the Granada area and in the mansion where they have their office. Crux Cigars added a new sales broker. So they're going to be handling Alaska, Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Oregon, and Washington. So they're beefing themselves up. Company's been doing very well since their inception back in 2016. Gurkha has announced that they're re-releasing the Pure Evil. They did that at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival as a pre-release. It'll start hitting the shelves shortly. So like to check out what's new with Gurkha in that. I do believe they're making this at American Caribbean down in Nicaragua. So we'll see what comes out of Gurkha on that. Kafie 1901, thank you, Gaby Kafie. He's got the new Serie L Natural and rebrands of the core lines, and we could probably briefly talk about that right after this segment. And then Osvaldo Morales Cigars now have announced that they're going to be shipping free humidor display cases to select retailers to hold all of their select cigars. So that's a little special offering, and that is the rest of the news. And then last week's show with Josh is out here on Taking It to the Nub Season 3. You can go there. It's up now, archived on the YouTube channel. Let's get back to the team. Abby, why don't we quick talk about what you just came out with? We've been talking BCA. This thing was kind of billed as a Gaby Kafie interview, but we know we're going to bring the BCA in. So let's just take a little moment here and talk. And I'm going to actually put up that article again, and I'm going to let you talk through what you have recently done with your brand and this new Serie L.
So if we go back to 2019, Honduras got devastated with two major hurricanes, then a pandemic. There was one point Honduras had 1 million people homeless in a country that has 9.5 million people. Tobacco crops were devastated, which made it very difficult for our small factory to continue to operate. We were finding restrictions in tobacco, restrictions in, I should say, limited availabilities of things like cellophane, pectin. Even at one point, we even had problems getting cardboard boxes to export our cigars with. And for about 3 years, I had been working on a natural blend, a natural which would be at the time I was working on a Habano natural. It was an Ecuador Habano wrapper that I wanted to get my hands on. Unfortunately, the supplies were very limited because the big factories were really controlling. I should say David's cousins were controlling a large part of that coming into Honduras. So David, I love you guys. But it is what it is, you know, it's growing pains. And I began to kind of look outside of Honduras for that blend that I wanted to create. And I did visit La Aurora in the Dominican Republic. The doors were open to me to go do kind of like an on-site visit, take a tour, talk to Don Guillermo, Manuel Inoa, the team. They have a vast team, and what left me floored is that everything that I was missing in Honduras, I found in the Dominican Republic, especially that factory. That factory has vast reserves of tobaccos. And we began to work with Manuel Inoa to produce an all-natural blend. And my dream has always been to produce a puro, which is a binder, wrapper, filler, all from one country. And I was introduced to a corojo seed wrapper from the DR that is grown by the Leon Jimenez family that I just fell in love with. It had character, it had strength, it was well balanced, peppery, and the binders and fillers that came from that same farm were also mind-blowing. And we were able to actually look at the different primings and create a blend that suited exactly what was missing in our portfolio. Now, I would not have been able to do this without Manuel Inoa. That guy's a guru when it comes to tobacco, especially Dominican tobacco. And it's just amazing that in this world, and when I say in this world, we're now looking at it's like an exorcism was performed on Habanos, right? Where the Chinese now own 100% of Habanos. Habanos is famous, obviously, for Cuban cigars and puros, binder filler wrapper from one country. And there's such a massive shortage of Cuban cigars around the world that I really wanted to develop a cigar to rival the best Cuban cigars. And that was the vision behind this puro. And I think we frickin' came pretty close to achieving it, if not achieving it completely. So while there, we did visit all of my blends. We talked about the tobaccos that I was using in the blends and the shortages I was having. And one thing led to another. 18 months later, I moved all production over to the Dominican Republic. And I realized one thing in that this is a very tough business. You cannot have a factory and have a distribution company and expect to run them both very well. You have to kind of be an expert at one thing. And I know the blends that I want to produce. However, it's too much for me to handle managing a factory or overseeing the management of a factory. And what La Aurora's presented me is being a manufacturing partner so that now I can focus more energy on distribution in the US and abroad, as well as also focus more time and energy on the Boutique Cigar Association. So it's been a blessing. I literally, when we decided to close our factory in Honduras, it was very difficult It was a period of mixed emotions, but everybody turned out fantastic, if not better, than when the factory was open. I say that because, and David will attest to this, there's a massive shortage of staff in factories throughout Nicaragua and Honduras. So when we decided to close, the staff was literally picked up the week after by other factories that could offer full-time work when we were finding major obstacles to keep operating there. So everything turned out for the better. Everybody came out winning. I think most of all, the consumer, the connoisseur, is the one that's really coming out winning.
Congratulations, son.
Thank you very much.
I think I'm looking forward to this. It sounds amazing to see what you've been able to do with L'Aurora. At this point, what we want to do, we're going to leave it to Q. We're going to leave it to one question per guest for the lightning round. Okay. I'm going to let you go first. You pick a guest, ask the question. Meanwhile, I'm going to put in the chat the invite to the Zoom. So if anybody wants to join the After Herf, there is a Zoom link out there. You can join in. You'll be in a waiting room briefly until we finish the lightning round. Go ahead, Q.
So do we have any college football fans here in the building? I know I got one. Anybody else? No.
Old school ball fan.
Oh, okay. Okay. So to my one college football fan, JJ, we got Ohio State and Notre Dame tonight. 58.5 is the over under. You taking the over, or you taking the under?
Man, I'm not as big of a college football fan as one might think. I do love it. The thing is, I absolutely love Notre Dame. My whole family's been huge fans of Notre Dame, so I couldn't go against Notre Dame. Whether I thought they were going to win or not, just can't do it.
Okay, so you got Notre Dame tonight.
Notre Dame. Gaby,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you the question. Last week, Josh brought up the fact that he's a huge Grand Prix fan. What is your favorite sport and why?
By far, basketball. I played basketball growing up. I grew up in California. I think the first decade was in LA, North Hollywood. So we had a lot of diversity where I went to school at Monlux. I went to Grant High School also, where people that, if you remember Tom Selleck, that's where Tom Selleck went to high school. Then I transferred over to South Orange County, where it was like I think I lived in California during the best era of California, and basketball was what I did every single day. And I played high school ball, I played college ball, I was a point guard, and I was just a nut. The West Coast teams were really on fire. The college teams like UNLV were just something else. I mean,
You want to just see Gaby in those short shorts?
well, what was funny is, I'm 5'11", right? And I was the white guy that could dunk. And
There
it
you
wasn't
go.
just like a simple dunk. I mean, the good old days, right? I had hops. I had like a 42-inch vertical back in high school.
Oh, fantastic.
And
Wow.
yeah, I played a lot of ball. Of course, I was about 30 pounds lighter. But I love
So-
basketball. I really
So
do.
the movie White Men Can't Jump wasn't about you.
What's funny, when that came out, man, oh man, so many white kids were going to the movies to watch it. That was a great movie, which led me to go into podiatry, surgery, and sports medicine. And my first year out, I was working under James Lucido, who was the
These are
team.
lightning questions, so keep it short.
I'll keep it short. I did spend time with the Miami Heat as a physician, so that was pretty awesome.
All right, Q, you're up next. Question and guest.
All right, Mr. Blanco, I'm smoking this Prince Hall. It's amazing. What's in it?
I can't see from the floor. Is that the Rosado or the Maduro? I can't quite see.
This is the Rosado.
Okay. So what we have there is a 100% Nicaraguan puro. All Plasencia tobacco. Of course, we make that at the Plasencia factory. The Maduro version, which is a little bit more stout. The Rosado is a little bit more medium body, is different blend entirely. All Nicaraguan except for the binder. That is a Sumatra binder on the Maduro version of that cigar. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a lightning round question, so I won't go into who Prince Hall is, but not a lot of people know who Prince Hall is, and I wanted to honor the man and all the things he was able to accomplish in his life. And of course, what most people remember him for is some Masonic history. But beyond the Masonic history, this man was what I consider one of our founding fathers in this country. He lived during the colonial period into the founding of the United States. So if you don't know about Prince Hall, look up the story. He's a very fascinating man. It was my way of giving him some kudos and paying a little homage.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Armin, last night, for whatever reason, I saw shooting past me on shows to watch the
Yeah.
Lords of Flatbush.
Ooh,
Ooh, yes, Lords of Flatbush.
with
right?
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone, Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler, yes.
Okay. So
Harry,
my question to you is your favorite Stallone movie.
Ooh, that's
Ooh,
such a
my-
tough question.
You know,
Considering
it's like
that was one of his first.
your
other than the Ford movie.
your timing is uncanny because just the other night I watched his very latest movie where he's the Samaritan. It was actually I went with no expectations, and it was pretty enjoyable. Look, I guess he has a lot of iconic characters. People say Rambo. He's had some good sci-fi stuff, whatever. But I'd have to go back to the original Rocky. I mean, just
Yeah.
the story of it, just the original Rocky, just the underdog, and pretty much if you know his real life too, he went through that. He was down to his last $10. He was in Hell's Kitchen, and most people don't know it that the dog he had was his dog. He didn't have enough money. He actually gave up his dog and vowed to get it back. Rocky made an enough movie. He went and got his dog back. So that whole kind of story spoke to me. So I don't have to go with that. There's nothing like that classic.
What was the name of the arm wrestling movie he made?
Ooh, Over the Top.
Yeah, you're going to tell me as a kid you didn't love that movie?
I loved all of them. See, yeah, that's the tough question. I mean, like I said, the Rambo's in there. You know, a lot of stuff he did.
Nobody wants to mention the adult movie he did. Did anybody?
Well, I
like that?
said that. Don't mention the adult movie.
No, I didn't get around to watching that.
Only
one.
David Blanco would have watched that. No,
Yeah.
Q, you got two guests left. Pick one.
You know,
Uh-oh.
Jamie, I'm going to go with you, man.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
I see the tattoo on your arm. What is the tattoo of, and what's its significance?
He doesn't
This,
remember.
this tattoo, I don't know if you can really see it, was a souvenir I brought back from the Holy Land in 2019. I was over there. Actually, I roomed with JJ while we were over there, and my secretary at the time, Sandy, was on the trip, and we decided to get matching tattoos, or we went to the same tattoo place. The Razouk family, they started in Egypt back in the early 14th century and eventually immigrated to what was then Palestine. They've been tattooing pilgrims to the Holy Land for roughly 700 years, handing it on from father to son. This is actually a copy of a stamp that they used back in the 16th century. It's got the Jerusalem cross, and then the three crowns symbolizing the three magi and the Christmas star. So you got Bethlehem and Jerusalem.
Beautiful.
Very cool. Very nice.
That's dope.
All right, so I guess it's up to you and me, JJ. You get the tough one.
Oh boy. Great.
What was your most personal hurdle in your life that you had to get over?
Ooh. Wow.
Boy, what happened to all the softball questions everybody else got?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
right?
Well, I just, Normally, I would
Dang,
ask one
tough
guest
one
these
at me.
types of questions. So.
Personal hurdle. Um, you know, I've been extremely fortunate my entire life, honestly. Uh, uh, Not a lot of people know this about me. I was adopted as an infant. So, my parents are my parents. They're my adoptive parents, but they're my parents. I was never treated like anything but. Sometimes I'd look back and think, what if I wasn't afforded that opportunity as a newborn? Where would I be now? So I guess it's not necessarily a hurdle, but looking back, I think that I was extremely fortunate and maybe a lot luckier than some other kids are, in this country and in this world. I can't say enough about my parents. They were, loving. My mom's still around. They taught me good Christian conservative values, and afforded me, everything that I could ever need and want without spoiling me, I guess. So yeah, that's a tough question, but yeah, that's kind
That's
of
a good answer, and I appreciate you opening up about that.
Can I be brutally honest? I thought your answer was going to be smoke at the creek. I thought that was going to be your biggest hurdle.
I tell you, with the great team like we have, wasn't that big of a hurdle at all. It's a pleasure.
All right, folks.
Answer.
The BCA. I appreciate you all for coming in, taking your time tonight. I set up, there's an after her if you guys want to stick around. I have the chat out there. People can join Zoom. The link is out there in the feed that you've been watching. I'm going to call the show here. I just want to thank all my sponsors for out them. It's always a little bit harder to do this. I want to thank my co-host Quinton Brown, and of course the whole panel of BCA for enlightening all of us about what it is you do and the great mission that you're on to work in this industry. So with that,
Thank you, Jimmie.
Thank you, Boston Jimmie. Thank you,
Jimmie.
Quinton. I do want to say one thing before we go out, is we get a lot of inquiries, or a lot of people tell us, hey, nobody reached out to me. And obviously smaller companies are out there saying, well, I didn't get a call. Well, how come I wasn't invited to the festival? And the truth of the matter is that we don't have an outreach program. We're young, we're getting started. And if you look at our entire board, yes, we've all got, our personalities, our character, our egos. But when it comes to the association, we put all that aside. And we have one thing to address, is the task at hand. I think that's why a military David does so well with this group, is we focus on what the job is, right? But yeah, if you guys want to participate, reach out, call us. You'll be surprised how lovingly you'll be received. Your phone call, your email. Take the time, put your egos away, reach out. If it works, it works. If it's not for you, then we respect that as well. So yes, this is an open invitation to everybody to be able to just reach out to us and just make a friendship, right?
all right. Well, thank you very much. Next week, we're going to have Crux Cigars on, and this one will be up on the YouTube channel next Saturday. With that, I'm going to stop the live feed. Anybody that wants to join, remember the link is in the feed if you wish to join the after her. I'll stop the recording right here.